Hello, my friends. Today we'll start with the news that Trump commented last night on yet another call with Zelensky.
You had a strategic call with Zelensky the other day. What strategy did you? This was a good call. He's being hit very hard, as I said he would. He's being hit very hard, and I was very disappointed with my call with President Putin. I was very disappointed.
As we can see, Trump is disappointed, but he's not imposing new sanctions or sending new military aid packages to Ukraine. That's why the situation at the front is getting worse. By the day, unfortunately, we're seeing more movement not in our favor. In the Pokrovsk direction, the Russians have significantly expanded the eastern flank and are now very close to Novotoretsk, Razine, Fedorivka, and Novoekonomichne. If we look at the map from 2 months ago, the front line was still far beyond the highway. But today, in just 2 months, the Russians have advanced about 14 kilometers. This means the situation here has drastically changed, and the encirclement of Pokrovsk and Myrnohrad is very close. Today, the Russians continue storming Володимирівка, Разіне, Новоекономічне, Миролюбівка, the village of Промінь, Лисівка, Новопавлівка, and are pushing into the outskirts of Pokrovsk near the Zvirova area. Fighting is also ongoing in the industrial zone, and for Udachne, around 60 assaults took place over the past day, and once again, this area remains the most active on the front. In the Novopavlivka direction, Russian forces are already actively advancing into Dnipropetrovsk region, and attacks have begun near the village of Filia. They are also trying to break through in the area of Dachne and are attempting to push across the fields toward Novopavlivka. In addition, they are assaulting Muravka, Горіхове, the outskirts of Oleksiivka, and the village of Tolstoy. The village of Піддубне has already fallen under Russian control. Most likely, in the near future, they will try to capture the village of Myrne and level the front line. So this section of the front is also continuing to collapse. At the moment, the situation is extremely difficult. The number of Russian troops is overwhelming. However, the Ukrainian forces continue to destroy them. A video has surfaced online showing Russians raising their flag in Dachne, but the Ukrainian forces were able to dispose on them. Soldiers on the ground describe the situation like this. In the Novopavlivka direction, the situation is deteriorating further. After taking the village of Yalta, the Russians quickly captured the village of Zirka and spilled out onto the western bank of the Mokry Yali River south of Hrushivsky. The result is de facto control of Tolstoy and Піддубне. Of the triangle Filia, Hrushivsky, Yalta, only Filia remains under our control. Hrushivsky is still ours, but its importance has been completely neutralized by the Russian advance toward Піддубне. Filia is just 2 kilometers from Novopavlivka, the largest settlement in that area. The Russians also made gains near Velyky and Zelenopole, which is essentially the Huliaipole axis, where activity is also increasing. The situation is extremely difficult along the entire front line. It remains unstable. In the Velyka Novosilka area, the Russians are storming Voskresenka, trying to break through near the village of Shevchenko and assaulting Temerivka. However, no territorial changes have occurred in the past 24 hours. In the Huliaipole direction, Russian forces are storming the village of Malinivka and attempting to seize full control. However, Ukrainian troops are holding the line, and the northern part of the village remains under the control of the Ukrainian forces. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, Russian troops are assaulting Kamiansk and shelling the frontline areas. For now, there are no new changes in this sector, and the Ukrainian forces continue to repel all Russian attacks. In the Kherson direction, Russian forces continue the assaults near Oleshky and are trying to expand their control over the islands. However, Ukrainian forces strike them daily and prevent them from establishing a foothold. Meanwhile, shelling of the right bank continues, but the front line hasn't changed over the past 24 hours. Now, let's move to Kostyantynivka. Here, Russian troops are storming Chasiv Yar and Stupochki, advancing toward Bila Hora and Delievka and attacking Sherbinivka, also Rusin Yar and Poltavka. Activity in this sector has slightly decreased. 12 assaults were recorded in the past day. So far, no new changes along the front line. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces are striking Russian drone operator positions using airstrikes. Footage shows these positions were inside residential buildings, now reduced to rubble. Share your thoughts in the comments. At the same time, Russian forces continue to attack apartment blocks with the drones. Yesterday, new footage emerged from Drushkivka showing that the shelling remains intense. In the Siversk direction, Russian forces are assaulting Serebryanka, pushing near Grigorivka, Verkhnyo-Kamianske, and Ivanodarivka. Despite heavy activity and a difficult situation in Serebryanka, Ukrainian forces have so far managed to hold the line and repel all attacks. As a result, the front line here remains unchanged. In the Lyman direction, the Russians continue the assaults at maximum intensity. They are attacking Dvorichna, Kolodezi, and Zelena Dolina, pushing near Kharkivka and storming Glushenkove, Novy Mir, and Druzhelyubivka. Despite the tough conditions, the front line remains stable for now. In the Borova direction, Russian forces are assaulting Boguslavka, Zeleny Gай, and Novoyegorivka. However, the situation remains stable for now, and all Russian attacks are being successfully repelled. In the Kupiansk direction, Russian troops are already pushing into the outskirts of Kupiansk, with battles ongoing near the village of Myrne. Yesterday, Russian sources claimed to have captured the village of Sobolivka. So far, the Ukrainian side hasn't confirmed the loss of either Myrne or Sobolivka, but if these reports are verified, the situation will align with the current maps showing Russian geolocated positions. Russian advances are already confirmed in some areas, and it appears they're beginning to encircle Kupiansk. At the same time, FPV drone strikes remain extremely active in the area. We await official updates from the Ukrainian side, but it looks like the situation is rapidly deteriorating here. Intense fighting for Kupiansk is likely imminent, and this direction will also require reinforcements, which may be in short supply across the entire front. In the Dvorichna direction, Russian forces have temporarily reduced their activity and are likely preparing for new assaults. Over the past 24 hours, there have been no changes to the front line. In the Velykyi Burluk direction, the Russians are assaulting Ambarne and conducting shelling, but they were unable to advance further during the day. However, this breakthrough still poses a serious threat to the broader front, as Russian sources openly state that their goal is to pull Ukrainian reserves away from other critical directions. In the Kharkiv direction, no new assaults have been recorded so far, and the front line remains stable. Fighting continues in Vovchansk, along with shelling of frontline areas, but there have been no changes over the past 24 hours. In the Sumy direction, Russian forces are assaulting Andriivka and conducting shelling. However, for now, their advance has been halted and no new changes have been observed in the past day. In the area near the village of Tiotkyne, Russian forces are attempting to advance into Ukrainian territory to force their Ukrainian forces to retreat from positions on the Russian side. However, the front line hasn't changed over the past 24 hours and fighting continues. Meanwhile, instead of pressuring Russian companies, the US has allowed Rosatom to proceed with building a nuclear power plant in Hungary. The US lifted sanctions on Russia's Rosatom and approved its participation in constructing a nuclear plant in Hungary. This is essentially a ticket for Russia's return to the European Union's nuclear energy market. It's not just about the potential $10 billion in future profits. Rosatom is a key tool of Kremlin's strategic influence worldwide. Now it is once again legally building infrastructure within the European Union, all made possible by Washington's decisions. Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.